Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to each and every one of you. Welcome to Monday Morning Affirmations. I am your host, Stephen Dillard Carroll. Hello. Welcome to your Monday. How's it going for you so far? Have you got your cup of coffee yet? Have you wiped the sleep from your eyes? Have you shaken it off? How are things going for you so far this Monday morning? I really hope that things are going well for you as you face with gusto and excitement and positivity the week ahead of you. Let's jump into today's affirmation, or I should say this week's affirmation, and our inspiration for this week's affirmation is brought to us by the English Magic Tarot. I hate that I want to forget the name of this deck so much because this deck is actually very special to me. It was a gift from a director that directed me in a play, and I actually really do love this deck. And if you love this deck, you can find a link to purchase your very own down in the description box below. So the English Magic Tarot. I always want to throw in the New English Magic Tarot for some reason, but that's not what it's called. It's called the Magic Tarot. The English Magic Tarot deck. And while you're down there in the description box, you'll find links to my top 5 faves. These are my favorite decks, my go-to decks in my private practice, and you can find a link, 5 links down below to where you can grab your very own copy of said decks. Also, while you're down there, speaking of private practice, I have my own private practice. I am a psychic. It's what I do for a living, and I would love to spend an hour with you and read for you and share time in spirit with you. So if you would like to book a private session with me, that link is also down below. Finally, if you like what you see in this video, I encourage you to like it, comment on it, subscribe to my channel, and share the video, because when you do those 4 things, like, comment, subscribe, and share, you end up helping out this channel a lot. And that is what we're all about on this channel. We're about uplifting each other, encouraging each other, inspiring each other, and cheering each other on in goodness and possibility. No, positivity. And the possibilities are endless when we base all of that activity on unconditional love. So, thank you for all of your support for me. Thank you for lifting me up in unconditional love. I could not do all of this without you, and I really do appreciate your participation in this channel. So let's dive right on in. Our inspiration for this week's affirmation is brought to us by the 8 of Wands. The 8 of Wands, and it's in the upright position. This is an interesting interpretation of the 8 of Wands. You've got this person that is surrounded by tigers and cats and dogs and horses, and he's afraid, and yet there's really nothing to be afraid of, because these animals that are surrounding him are really not out there to hurt him in any way. And very often, and I'm kind of going off the, I'm leaving the textbook definition of the Eight of Wands because this is telling me something entirely different. I am an intuitive psychic, and so we're going to go with that. Sometimes things aren't as dire as we make them out to be. Sometimes things aren't as serious as we make them out to be. Sometimes we prepare ourselves for battle when all is needed is a conversation. Sometimes we prepare ourselves for nuclear war when all it takes is listening. Sometimes we are fighting demons that don't even exist. This rings true to me because I immediately go to the worst case scenario in every situation that I am in. That is a character flaw on my part, and that is something that I am consistently working on. If I'm at work and my supervisor calls me into her office, I immediately think I'm going to get fired. Not because I have done anything to warrant being fired, but I immediately think, oh, I'm being fired. If my father calls me, I immediately go to, what's wrong? If a family member that I haven't heard from in quite some time reaches out to me, I immediately think someone's dead. I turn, even when I have to have difficult conversations with people, even though I don't mind having those conversations, even though they might be tough, I'd rather talk about it and get it over with and get it done, and move on in positivity and light. Even though I'm good with approaching people in that way, I always think it's going to be a nuclear war. I always think it's going to be worse than it is. Even when I go to fairs, psychic fairs and things of that nature, I always think, oh, no one's going to show up. No one's going to want a reading from me. And I mean, I could go a little bit deep with this because I think in my growing up, there wasn't a lot of stability as far as emotional stability. There wasn't a lot of that. And so it makes sense that in my adult life, I immediately go to the worst case scenario. I immediately think the sky is falling. I immediately go to that place because that's the place that I'm used to. It's the place that I was brought up in, wherein every conversation with my mom and dad would explode into nuclear war. Everything was the worst case scenario. Absolutely, there was no good news that was coming from anywhere when I was growing up. And so I had to create my own good news because everything around me was up in the air and chaotic. And so I get why I still have residual amounts of that within me even today. It makes complete and total sense. So what are we going to do with that information? In my private practice, when I'm reading for people, I'm like, okay, this is the information that I'm getting. Let me share this information with you and let you digest it. And then we talk about what are we going to do with this information. As I have said a couple of times in this show, what I do in private practice is 30% reading and 70% counseling people and trying to get them to live their best life possible. So what are we going to do with that information? We know that for some of us, including myself, we immediately go to the worst case scenario. immediately. What are we going to do with that information? How are we going to fix that within ourselves? That's a great question. It's a question that I continually work on myself, the way that I do it. And again, this is a work in progress. Please remember, it is not something that I have 100% conquered yet, but what I do is, when I immediately go to that place, I stop myself. If I'm wise and I'm realizing what's going on with myself, I immediately stop myself and I say, what is the reality of what is going on right now? What is truly going on in this moment? Take a step back from it and look at it as it really is. And when I do that, and again, I don't do it all the time, it's rare that I am in the presence of mind and I'm wise enough to say, okay, wait a minute, this is crazy. Let's look at this from the right angle. When I am wise enough to do that, I'm able to see things for what they really are, and things are never as dire as I build them up to be in my head. And I feel like I'm not the only one in that boat. And so my affirmation for you today is, when you are feeling overwhelmed, when you are feeling like it is the worst case scenario, I encourage you in those moments to actually stop. Stop everything. Take a few deep breaths and then say, I am going to look at this as it really is. Not the way that I am perceiving it, because how I'm perceiving it is worst case scenario, the sky is falling. I am going to look at this and see it for what it really is. And it helps. It just helps. It is a work in progress. It's not going to be one and done. It's fixed, especially if you, if those behavior patterns are ingrained with you, inside you. It is a process, and it's a process that I am continuing on even as we speak today. So, that is my affirmation for you today. You are worth actually stopping, taking a few deep breaths, and seeing things for how they actually are. Have a great, fantastic, beautiful, wonderful week, because you are great, fantastic, beautiful, and wonderful. Yes, you are. And I will see you right back here next Monday morning. Bye, everybody.